Hello everyone, and welcome all of you to Unacademy, a place where you can crack your toughest of examinations with the help of top educators, quality content, and not to forget the great learning experience. Well, let us crack the 9th and 10th examinations with the help of Unacademy, where you get the access to unlimited live and recorded courses from India's best educators. Therefore, here I welcome all of you on Unacademy platform. Before I continue, let me introduce myself. I am Tasneem and I have completed my Master's and MPhil in English. I have also been certified in TESOL. I have trained 1,000 plus students and I have 8 years of professional teaching experience. Therefore, be rest assured you are in good hands. In this video, we will be learning about gerund. Well, gerund is one of the non-finite verbs which we have been learning from a couple of days. In this video, I will be taking you through the usages of gerund and also going to be tell you a little more about infinitive and the participle. And we will also know the difference between the gerund and the participle. But before I continue with gerund, let us know a little more about Unacademy and what you can actually expect with Unacademy. Unacademy offers you daily live classes where you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts, and answer polls, all while the class is going on. And then you have the live tests and quizzes where you will be able to evaluate your preparation with our regular mock tests and quizzes and get detailed analysis on your performance. Number 3, you have structured courses. All our courses are structured in line with your exam syllabus to help you best prepare for it. And then finally, you have the unlimited access where you can get the subscription, and that one subscription gets you the access to all our live and recorded courses to watch from the comfort of any of your device. Well, all you have to do is buy that subscription and get the access to all our live classes and prepare with top educators, and then get the comprehensive syllabus of mathematics, social science, Hindi, science, and English. Well, you can also talk to us on Telegram application. By downloading the Telegram application, then typing this link in the URL and then clicking on join. You will also have to download the Unacademy learning application on your phone or any of your compatible devices. And then finally, you will have to buy any one of these courses. Well, if you go for 6 months, you will have a maximum amount of discount. And as you go higher, if you go for a 12 months course, your discount will also increase as opposed to 33%. And if you go higher further, you will get a discount of 58% on a 24 months subscription. And if you were to take 36 months subscription, you will get a 60% discount. And for 48 months, you have 67% off discount. But along with this discount, you have additional 10% off discount on the code TA01. That is, when you proceed to pay, while you are buying any one of these courses, when you proceed to pay, you can type the code TA01, and along with the existing discounts, you get additional 10% of discount. And supposing, let us say, for example, if you take the course of 12 months, which is already available on 50% off discount, along with this 50%, you get additional 10% on the code TA01, which means you are up for 60% of discount. So as opposed to 15,000 rupees, you will only be paying 13,500 rupees. And for a month, you will pay only 1,125 rupees only. If you are a 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, or a 12th grader, I suggest go ahead and buy the subscription for 12 months and make use of the code TA01 and proceed to pay and start learning for your examinations and start cracking your examinations with the help of Unacademy. Let us now move on towards today's topic, which is gerund. Well, when you pronounce this word, let me tell you the letter D is mute, as in you do not pronounce this. You only say gerund. D is mute, or you also say silent. Well, we do not usually say silent, we say mute. Now let us proceed towards learning what is a gerund. What is a gerund? Well, to begin with, gerund is a non-finite verb ending with ing and functioning like a noun. Focus on this word, functioning like a noun in a statement. Well, if you have watched my previous videos, which were on participle and infinitive, I have given you a clarity on how to differentiate between finite and non-finite verbs. But still, let me give you an example and clarify that. Supposing if I were to say, she likes swimming. Now here, what I want you to do is try and change the subject from she to I. And you get a statement like this. I like swimming. Right? Now let us try and change this statement into past tense. All right? Now you get she liked swimming. Now here, the first question that I want you to ask is, how many verbs do you find in this statement? And you find two verbs, number one and number two. Number one is likes and number two is swimming. And when you changed the subject from she to I, she is a third person singular and I is first person singular. Now here, when you changed the subject from she to I, you can see that out of the two verbs that we have, only one has assumed the change, which is likes has converted itself into like, and when you changed the tense, the same like converted itself into liked. But whereas swimming has remained intact, swimming hasn't changed at all. So this gives us the clarity on when the verb changes with the change of subject and with the change of tense, then we call those verbs as finite verbs. And when the verb remains same, when the verb doesn't get affected by the change of subject or tense, then you call that as non-finite. All right? You call that as non-finite. And out of these non-finites, we have three non-finite verbs. Number one, infinitive. Number two, participle. And number three is what we call as gerund. And gerund is an ing verb. Gerund is an ing verb. Ends with ing. It is basically a verb, but it ends with ing all the time. It has no other form. It has only one form, that is ing verb, unlike infinitive and participle. Well, another thing that I told you was it functions like a noun in a statement. Therefore, it does all that which a noun does as well. And let us see what all that is. Let us understand what a gerund is. Let me give you an example here. That is, cricket is a good sport. Now, in this statement, what is our subject? The subject is cricket. And what is it? This is a noun. Usually, the subjects are nouns, right? Well, not usually, all the time. Maximum number of times, the subjects are nouns. But I want you to replace this noun into an ing verb like this. Here we have swimming. Now, when you replace the word cricket, which is a noun, into an ing verb, we get this statement, which is swimming is a good sport, right? Cricket is a good sport. You had a noun there, and this is our subject, isn't it? It is our subject. And here, the same sentence has been replaced just with one word, and here it is an ing verb. But swimming is functioning like a subject. It has function, it is doing the function, the work of a noun. Therefore, here, even though it is a verb ending with ing, it is functioning like a noun and the subject of the statement. Because of this factor, we call this as a gerund. So what is a gerund? Gerund is an ing verb which functions like a noun in a statement. Similarly, besides swimming, you also have a word like running. Running is also an ing verb, but here it is functioning like a noun. Similarly, jogging. Jogging is also an ing verb, but here it is functioning like a noun. And in this statement, it is functioning like subject. So there we have our gerund. Now the next one is to learn the usage and the functions of a gerund. A little while ago, I told you that a gerund functions like a noun, didn't I? Now, what is the function of a noun? To function like a subject or an object, right? Which means gerund will also function like a subject and like an object as well. Let us try and take a few examples of this and try and analyze. Gerund, which functions like a subject in a statement. Now, in this statement, the example which you see here, I want you to read the statement and tell me what is the subject over here. Let me do that for you. Fishing is my favorite pastime. What is my favorite pastime? You ask the question, what? And if you know well, what answers the question. When you ask the question, what, you get the answer as noun. So what is my favorite pastime? Fishing. And fishing comes before your finite verb. So the subject, the noun that comes in front of your finite verb is your subject. Here, fishing is your ing verb, yes, but it is functioning like a noun, and this is your ing verb functioning like a noun, and it is in front of the finite verb, therefore it is your subject. All right? Fishing is my favorite pastime. What is my favorite pastime? Fishing. Now, what is a subject? By the way, before I proceed with gerund, I should have explained you this, but anyway, let me tell you now. What is a subject? Subject is the noun of the statement which actually does the action, right? So here, fishing is reflected. Fishing is the one doing the action. That is, fishing is my favorite pastime. Though it is a verb, it is functioning like a noun and hence it qualifies as a subject. Similarly, sprinting is a high intensity workout. Sprinting. What is a high intensity workout? Sprinting. So there you get the answer. Ing verb, but functioning like a noun. And there we have our subject. All right, so this is our subject. Next is caring helps develop bonds. What helps develop bonds? Caring. So caring, of course, an ing verb, but it is a noun, functioning like a noun, and it is at the beginning before the finite verb, hence it is our subject. Helps is our finite verb here. All right. Caring helps. How do you figure out whether a verb is a finite or a non-finite? Is by changing the subject from changing the subject and the tense. Now let us change this into past tense. Caring helps develop bonds. Now let us change this into past tense and we get caring helped develop bonds. So the verb that changes over here is this one, and the one which changes, the verb which changes is called as finite, and the one which doesn't is non-finite. And here our non-finite verb is caring. It is a verb, but it is functioning like a noun, and therefore it is our subject of the statement. Next is talking and speaking. Both are ing verbs. Both are ing verbs. Talking and speaking are two different terms. Talking, obviously, as a noun, speaking also as a noun. Therefore, our subject. And breaking and entering is a crime. Again, here, breaking and entering, we have two ing verbs functioning like nouns or the subjects. So, this gives us the clarity that gerund functions like a noun and functions like a subject. Now let us move on to the next one, which is where it functions, a gerund, of course. Gerund functions like a complement. Well, what is a complement? Complement is a word that completes the statement. What is a complement? Complement is a word that completes a statement. So in this statement, I want you to pay attention because there are too many things that are going to be confusing here. Number one, my favorite pastime is fishing. Focus on this. My favorite pastime is fishing. Now, which word is completing the statement here? Now, here, my favorite pastime is your subject phrase because it is in front of your finite verb, and the entire, it's not just about my or favorite or pastime. We are going to consider each and every word that we have here, and this qualifies as your phrase. So what phrase is it? It is your subject phrase. So subject phrase, and we have a word over here that is completing the statement, which is fishing. And which form is it? It is in ing form, right? But it is functioning here like a noun. How is that? You can see. My favorite pastime is fishing. Now there is one more thing that I want you to analyze. That is, if you have watched my video on participle, if you have watched my video on present participles, I had told you that when you have ing verbs, in continuous tenses, that in that particular case, when you have an ing verb next to the be verbs, then it is always a present participle. Do you remember that? Yes, of course, that is correct. When you have an ing verb next to a be verb, it is always your present participle. But I want you to answer me a question over here. That is the verb, which is it functioning like a be verb here? Take a look at it. Is it really functioning like a be verb over here? Does it really show continuous forms? Supposing if I were to write the statement, I am reading a book. Now, I want you to tell me the difference between my favorite pastime is fishing and I am reading a book. So here, when you take a look at this word, which is next to the be verb, it clearly conveys a continuity. It clearly shows that the action is in progress. It doesn't tell any stability. It doesn't complete the statement. It says that I am reading. I haven't completed. I am still doing the action. The action is still in progress. Therefore, obviously, this reading is your present participle. All right. But when you take a look at this statement here, which is my favorite pastime is fishing. Here, the be verb, which is not functioning like your be verb. In fact, the be verb is functioning like your main verb. We do use be verbs as main verbs, and here we have used this be verb as main verb, and fishing is completing the statement, and this is functioning like noun. There is no continuity over here. Just like the way when you take a look at I am reading a book, which is obviously stating the continuity of the action, it's not the same over here. My favorite pastime is fishing. There is no continuity. It doesn't state about the continuation of the action. It's a kind of a stop. It's actually telling what is my favorite. It answers the question, what? It answers, what is my favorite pastime? It's fishing. So fishing, even though it is an ing form, it's a verb, it is functioning like a noun here, answering the question, what? That is why here fishing becomes your gerund. All right. Now you got to be very careful with these type of tenses. It is pretty obvious that you can very easily jump and tell that this is a participle, but it is not your participle, because participles always come next to main verbs, and here is your main verb and not your be verb. When you have the ing verb next to be verbs showing the continuity of the action, then yes, definitely that is your present participle. But in this scenario, it is not, and not even here. When you take a look at the second example, which is a high intensity workout is sprinting. Again, here is not your be verb, but it is your main verb. Similarly, swimming is relaxing. Now here, both swimming and relaxing are your gerunds. Here, swimming is your subject, and here this is your complement. All right. So here, both are ing verbs, and is functioning like your main verb, and therefore relaxing becomes your complement. It is not showing. How would you differentiate between the progressive tense and the complements? Is by this, by focusing on the statement and realizing whether there is a continuity or not. When you say I'm reading a book, it shows there is a continuity of the action. But when you say my favorite pastime is fishing, a high intensity workout is sprinting, swimming is relaxing, similarly honesty is perplexing. Here there is no continuity of the action. There is no progression of the action. You only can see that there is a halt, there is an ending, there is a completion or a complement. These kind of sentences are verbs which end in ing forms are your gerunds, and here it is functioning like a complement. All right, be very careful. Do not just immediately jump to conclusion by considering that as a present participle. It is very confusing, and it is pretty easy for you to call that as a present participle, but then analyze the statement. Is it showing progression or stability? All right. Now the next one is when a gerund functions like a subject phrase. What is a phrase, by the way? Phrase is a combination of words which has no finite verb. Which has no finite verb. Well, what is a clause? Clause is when you have subject and finite verb where it qualifies as a clause. And phrase is actually a combination of different verbs. It could be a verb, it could be an adjective, it could be a preposition, or it could be a noun. Combination of verbs or nouns or anything for that matter. But it doesn't make complete sense. It has a little meaning, it has a little sense, it does convey some particular meaning which adds to the meaning of the complete statement, but it doesn't have a finite verb. It can definitely have a non-finite verb. It can have a non-finite verb, but not finite verbs. Let us take the examples. Reading books improves your intellect. What improves your intellect? Focus on the question what. Gerund always answers the question what. All right. Dash improves your intellect. What improves your intellect? Reading books. Now here you cannot just say that reading improves your intellect. It is the combination of reading. It is a combination of reading and books. Together it becomes as a phrase and still answers the question what. Therefore, this is our subject phrase. All right. The next one is finding a fresh vegetable has become a challenge. Now here again, finding a fresh vegetable has. Now this is your finite verb. So anything that comes in front of your finite verb is your subject, but you do not have just one word here. You have a combination of words. Therefore, here this qualifies as your phrase. But what type of phrase is it? Well, the phrase begins with an ing verb. Therefore, this is your gerund phrase, or you can also call as subject phrase. This is your gerund phrase because it begins with a gerund. Therefore, it is your gerund phrase. This is your gerund phrase and also your subject phrase. And this is your finite verb. Next one is living a healthy life is a need of the hour. Living a healthy life. What is the need of the hour? Living a healthy life is the need of the hour. So this answers the question again, what? So when you get the answer for the question what, then it is your, supposing if it is your ing verb and if this answers the question what, then without doubt it is your gerund. Living a healthy life is your gerund phrase or subject phrase. Is a need of the hour. So here is your finite verb. Is your finite verb. Next, saving money will help us in difficult times. Now here will is your finite verb and saving money. What will help us in difficult times? Saving money. So this is our subject phrase. Now let us move further and try and analyze, try and understand the usage of gerund as an object. Now, how do you call it as an object? Remember, I told you gerund functions like a noun. And how does a noun function? It functions like a subject and also like an object, right? So here we have established this one already. Here we have to establish the object now. Gerund as an object. I, your subject, enjoy, verb. What do you enjoy? Cycling. Therefore, this is your object. I enjoy cycling every morning. Now, I prefer skipping only when the gyms are closed. That is I, subject, verb, object. What is an object, by the way? Object is the word or the noun that receives the action. That receives the action. So cycling is what is receiving the action. Similarly, skipping is what is receiving the action. I prefer, what do I prefer? Skipping. Similarly, I enjoy driving once a while. What do I enjoy? Driving once a while. I hate swimming. What do I hate? I hate swimming. So here, I hate swimming. So we use a gerund as object as well, just like the way we have used over here. Next is gerund as an object phrase. Remember, we just a little while ago we learned about subject phrase. Similarly, we are now learning about object phrase, where an ing verb is functioning like a gerund and it is a phrase as well. She loves dining outside. What does she love? Dining outside. You cannot just say dining. Like I told you earlier, question what. Keep in your mind, gerund answers the question what. So she loves. What does she love? She loves dining outside. Therefore, this entire phrase, the combination of two different phrases, is our object phrase. Similarly, she finds taking naps helpful. What does she find helpful? She finds taking naps. Again, the answer is not just one word, but then two different words. Therefore, object phrase. He enjoys reading books. What does he enjoy? Reading books. The answer is reading books. Therefore, our object phrase. Now let us go to the next one, which is he agrees saving money as an option. What does he agree on? He agrees saving money as option. Therefore, here we have object phrase. So these are object phrases which are in ing forms but functioning like a noun. Which is why we call it as gerund. Now the next one is indirect object. I hope you know that indirect object, when you have two objects in a statement, one becomes your direct object and another becomes your indirect object. Indirect object receives the action from the direct object. So here, excuse me, when we say I made reading a hobby, here indirect objects come soon after the subjects. Mostly they come soon after the subject. When you have direct object alone, direct object comes soon after the subject. But when you have two different objects, direct and indirect, then indirect object comes first and direct object comes afterwards. So here with that formula, this is our indirect object. This is our direct object. So I made reading a hobby. What did I make as my hobby? Reading. And reading is our ing form. Remember the question word that I told you? What? When you get an answer for what, that's your noun, obviously. And here we have an ing verb which is answering the question what, and thereby making that as a noun, thereby making it as a gerund. Similarly, I never thought swimming as a physical activity. I never thought what as a physical activity? Swimming. Therefore, there we have our gerund as indirect object. Similarly, I make raising kids as my priority. What did I make as my priority? Raising kids. Here, this is your indirect object phrase. It's not just your indirect object, but it is your phrase. Remember, we were learning about phrases? Yeah. Now, next one is I gave cycling a shot. What did I give a shot? Cycling. Cycling is your ing verb, but it is answering the question what? But it is functioning like a noun, but it is in ing form. Therefore, it is our gerund as indirect object. Let us now move on to the next one, the next usage, that is object of a preposition. Well, what is a preposition? Preposition is a word that comes in front of a noun, right? So anything that comes, prepositions after preposition, anything that you use after preposition is the object of that preposition. And objects are usually nouns. But if the object is in ing form, then without doubt it is your gerund. Let us see how. I have a fair knowledge of reading. Here we have the preposition and reading, your ing verb, but it is functioning like a noun. So what are we going to consider that as? A gerund. When an ing verb functions like a noun, we call that as a gerund. All right? The next is, he speaks very strongly about touring. He speaks very strongly about touring. Now here, about is your preposition and ing verb there, but functioning like a noun. Therefore, we call it as a gerund. All right? Similarly, he has a strong aversion toward drinking. He has a strong aversion toward drinking. Now here toward is your preposition, and there you have your ing verb, and therefore we call it as gerund because it functions like the object of the preposition toward. All right. Next is his hate for gossiping is obvious. His hate for gossiping is obvious. Now here, this is your subject phrase, but you can see that in the subject phrase, you have the preposition for, and then you have the ing verb, and therefore you have your object of the preposition for, and hence this is your gerund. All right. Next is we can improve our communicative skills by speaking. There you have your preposition, and you then have the ing verb and functioning like a noun. Functioning like a noun, but here this is the object of the preposition by. Therefore, we call this as your gerund. So this is how you see. Now another easy way to recognize when you have an ing verb right next to the prepositions, without doubt, they are your gerunds. Because what are prepositions? Prepositions are the words which are used in front of nouns, right? So if you have an ing verb after a preposition, it has to be a gerund. Next is as compound nouns, gerund in compound nouns, like we need a reading lamp. We need a reading, does it make sense? Lamp does make sense. If you say we need a lamp, yes, of course it does make sense. But when you say a reading lamp is one word. Now here you have an ing verb, obviously functioning like a noun, and it has been combined with an original noun, right? So noun plus noun, we get a compound gerund here. Therefore, this is our compound noun, which is a gerund. Similarly, the swimming pool. Now here we're not just using swimming, but then we are using it along with the word pool. Thereby, we are getting a compound noun with a gerund. Similarly, we need to call housekeeping. Who do we need to call? We need to call housekeeping. So house is your obvious noun, but keeping is combined. You cannot just say we need to call house, or you cannot say we need to call keeping. You will have to use that as one word. It is a one word, in fact. So together we call this as a compound noun, and we have a gerund in there. Therefore, it is our compound noun as gerund. Similarly, decision making is tough. What is tough? Decision making is tough. Therefore, we get decision and then making, which is an ing form with a combination of decision. Thereby, we get our gerund compound noun. I need to get my driving license. Driving, ing verb, license, together it is our compound noun, thereby making it a gerund. All right, now let us move on to the next session, which is where we will learn a little more about non-finite verbs. Let me tell you what are infinitives. We have already learned about infinitives. Infinitives are the words which are root verbs along with the preposition to, like to walk, to run, to swim, to sit, to eat, to talk, etc., etc., etc. I definitely cannot make a list of all the root verbs. Well, all the verbs along with the preposition to are called as infinitives. We also have something called as bare infinitives, which arrive in statements without the preposition to. Now, all these are bare infinitives. When you minus the preposition to, it becomes your bare infinitive. When you add the word to, it becomes your complete infinitive or infinitive just. So those are infinitives and they function like noun. In a statement, they function like noun and they function like adjective and they also function like adverb. All right. Now let us go on to participles. What are participles? Participle is a word that functions like an adjective in a statement. All right. Now there are three types of participles. One is present participle, which is, let us say, walking. And when you take the past participle, walking becomes walked. And then you have the perfect participle, which is having walked. Or you can also say having been walked. So here, these are the three types of participles that we have. Participle is an ing verb and also a past form and a combination of having and walked, which are in three different forms, which functions like adjective and adverb, and sometimes adverb as well. If you want to know the details about this, please go back and watch the video which is on participles, where I have given you the details of the participle functioning like an adjective and also like an adverb. And here, next one is the gerund. Gerund, which we just learned, which is an ing verb which functions like noun, in turn functioning like a subject and object. All right. So these are non-finite verbs, the three non-finite verbs which we have. Now let us go on and learn a little more about gerunds and infinitives. Now gerunds can be replaced by an infinitive. Why? Remember I told you that gerunds also function like nouns. Therefore, you can replace a gerund with an infinitive. Infinitive as in to walk, to run, to sit. It goes on. When you use a root verb along with the preposition to, it becomes your infinitive. Now you can easily replace an ing verb into an infinitive. How can we? Let us take a look. A high intensity workout is sprinting. A high intensity workout is sprinting. Now let us change the sprinting into to sprint, which is an infinitive. A high intensity workout is to sprint. Do you see any changes in the meaning over here? Definitely no. Therefore, you can easily change a gerund into an infinitive like this. Similarly, my favorite pastime is fishing. Definitely a gerund, right? Now let us replace that into to fish like this. My favorite pastime is to fish. Definitely the meaning has remained intact except for the change of fishing into fish. And here to fish is your infinitive. Similarly, she loves dining outside. She loves to dine outside. Dining becomes to dine without any change of the meaning over there, because dining is also a noun and to dine also is a noun. He agrees saving money as an option. Similarly, he agrees to save money as an option. No change in the meaning whatsoever at all. The meaning has remained intact, the statement has remained intact, the nouns have remained intact, except for the gerund being converted into an infinitive. So this tells us that a gerund can be easily converted into an infinitive without the change of the meaning of the statement. Now let us move on to the next one, which is Verbs which can take only infinitives and not gerunds. Well, there are a number of verbs in English which take only infinitives. They do not take gerund in a statement, like accept, want, promise, plan, agree, hope, attempt, pretend, hesitate, propose, learn, decide, need, neglect. How can we see that in a statement? Let us take an example. She wants to go to Mumbai. All right, this is our infinitive, right? That's correct. So try and change this infinitive into an ing verb like this. She wants going to Mumbai. Does this statement make any sense at all? Certainly not. It is incorrect. Therefore, the verb wants doesn't take an ing verb, or else doesn't take gerund. If you use a gerund with want, it becomes incorrect. The next one is she agrees to walk me home, which is a correct usage. Agrees will take an infinitive but not a gerund. She agrees walking me home. This is an incorrect usage. If at all you use it like that, it is incorrect. Keep that in your mind. That is incorrect. Next one is I pretend to listen to her. Now this is a correct usage. I pretend to listen to her. Now supposing if you were to convert listen to listening, then it is incorrect. It is not a meaningful statement because pretend doesn't take gerund. So you need to be aware of these verbs to make sure that you do not use gerund and you only use infinitives. All right? Remember, these verbs take only infinitives and not gerund at all. Only infinitive. Next is verbs which only take gerunds, which do not take infinitives. Like when you have verbs like enjoy, quit, avoid, dislike, recall, appreciate, suggest, delay, consider, finish, postpone, mind, practice, tolerate, risk, regret, detest, recommend, stop, avoid, postpone. All right, this has been repeated, so we will minus this out. So like I told you, these verbs only take gerunds. They do not take infinitives. Infinitive is a big no. Is a big no. Examples would be I practice swimming every day, which is a correct usage. Supposing if you say I practice to swim every day, it is incorrect. You gotta say I practice swimming every day. Similarly, she quit drinking coffee, which is a correct usage. If you were to say she quit to drink coffee, then it is incorrect. You gotta say she quit drinking and not she quit to drink. Similarly, I seldom tolerate lying, which is a correct usage. I seldom tolerate to lie is incorrect. So here, these verbs take only gerund alone, only the ing forms alone, and to talk or to walk or meaning infinitives are not accepted whatsoever. Remember this, only ing verbs are used with these verbs, which are enjoy, quit, avoid, dislike, recall, appreciate, suggest, delay, consider, finish, postpone, mind, practice, tolerate, risk, regret, detest, recommend, stop, and avoid. All these verbs take only gerunds. Well, how do you understand this? How do you figure it out? There is no formula behind. You only will have to memorize these verbs and get familiarized with these verbs and remember them. That's it. The next is when verbs take either gerund or infinitive, or they accept both in the situation and still they make total sense. Like start, begin, like, love, hate, try, continue, prefer. Now, in these situations, you can either use the gerund or infinitive. Both are accepted by these verbs and they make total sense. Like, I hate talking to strangers, or I hate to talk to strangers. Both are correct, be it a gerund or an infinitive. Here, both are functioning like nouns. If you remember, a little while ago we discussed about a gerund converting itself into a noun. So this is the situation where both are correct and accepted. I prefer jogging over swimming, or I prefer to jog over swim. Both are correct statements. Similarly, I try meditating for 10 minutes every day. Correct? I try to meditate for 10 minutes every day. Correct again. So meditating or to meditate, both are accepted words, accepted notions and usages. Meditating. So when you have the words or the verbs like start, begin, like, love, hate, try, continue, and prefer, you can go ahead and use either a gerund or infinitive. All right, both are correct. Now the next one is when verbs of perception. What are verbs of perception? Well, we've been learning about verbs of perception since the day I started teaching about the verbs. Verbs of perceptions are those verbs which actually are perceived through all our senses. Those five senses that we have, the touch, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of hearing, seeing, and also tasting, all those are our senses. And when you have verbs of those perception which are perceived through the senses, then those verbs either take a gerund or a bare infinitive. Remember, what is a bare infinitive? Bare infinitive is when you have no preposition, when you have only the root verbs alone, like walk, talk, run, sit, swim, when you do not have the preposition to. In that particular situation, you call it as bare infinitive. All right, let us take the examples. I saw the cat jumping off the window. I saw, verb of perception. Similarly, I saw the cat jump off the window. Jumping, jump. Both are correct. You wouldn't say I saw the cat to jump, but you say both the cat jump off the window. Next one would be she noticed the man crying for help. Gerund. She noticed the man cry for help. Infinitive. Similarly, I hear him opposing it. Gerund. And here I hear him oppose it, which is infinitive. So these are the few replacement of gerund and infinitives and a few usages of non-finite verbs. Let us now take the difference between a gerund and present participle. Well, both look similar, both end in ing forms, and both are very confusing. You need to understand the usage, the difference between the two. And the difference is gerund, which is also an ing verb, functions like a noun, whereas the participle, the present participle, which is also an ing verb, functions like an adjective. A gerund answers the question what all the time, and a present participle answers the question what kind all the time. A gerund functions like a subject and an object in a sentence. Like I told you, as a gerund functions like a noun, it also does the function of a noun. Similarly, noun also functions like a subject and an object, right? So if a gerund functions like a noun, then obviously it functions like a subject and an object. And here, participle comes in front of a noun, whereas gerund doesn't come in front of a noun, but then it comes in the place of noun. But participle comes in front of a noun. it is used after main verbs. It is always used after main verbs, whereas here a participle is used after auxiliaries or verbs like is, are, am, was, were, and also will be. So here an ing verb, when you use it after these verbs, you call it as present participle. But here you use it next to the main verbs. And then it comes with prepositions. What is a preposition? I just told you a little while ago. Preposition is a word that comes in front of a noun. Therefore, you use gerunds with prepositions. And here I told you it comes after an object. And here it comes with a preposition, but here it comes after an object because it is an adjective. Therefore, it comes after the object, describing that object. Next is it can be replaced by infinitives, but here the participle cannot be replaced by any other non-finite verb because it functions alone. It functions like a present participle and like an adjective. So that is all about non-finite verbs. I hope you have the clarity. I hope you can clearly now, the way I have explained it, the way I have simplified it for you, I'm pretty sure that after the application, after a little bit of practice, I am sure that you will be able to differentiate between an infinitive, a participle, and a gerund. There won't be any difficulty when it comes to infinitive because infinitives are just the root verbs which end with root verbs which come with the preposition to. But there is always going to be a problem between figuring out whether it is a gerund or a present participle because they look alike. Therefore, I have clarified it as much as possible from my side. Do focus, go through the video once, twice, thrice if necessary, if need be, and then try to analyze the words, analyze the statements, and try to see the difference between the both. And very quickly, you will be able to differentiate between a gerund and a present participle. Well, that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and do not forget to leave your comments below. I actually look forward, keep waiting for your comments. Do not forget to subscribe and do not forget to hit that bell icon. Most importantly of all, do not forget to type the code TA012. Avail that extra 10% of discount on your subscription, along with the existing discount that you have. Do join our Telegram group for latest updates on our upcoming videos. Well, that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll meet you again soon. Bye-bye.